Hello YouTube, Dr. Sola coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria. So before we start, let me show you something new. So I'm about 6 foot tall and this fridge is taller than I am. So I'm 6'1" and the refrigerator is taller than I am. So we replaced, if you recall, I used to have two here, a freezer in the back, and the bigger one consumed 240 to 260 watts when it was running. The small one was about 90 watts, and the freezer was about 90 to 100 watts. So between all those, let's say 460 watts in refrigeration. This big one, everything that was in the two refrigerators and the freezer fit into this, and this consumes 160 watts. So let me show you inside, and then I'll give you a little bit of a story of what I've done in 2020. And that's the freezer portion, and it's empty, as you can see, compared to my old freezer. So for the year 2020, I made so many changes to my system. I spent so much money, and has it been worth it? The answer is absolutely yes. So let's start. In January, I had the Victron and I had the Schneider inverter that was on this side of the wall. So I had the Victron Schneider. Later in the year, and then I also had the Nissan Leaf batteries, if you recall, I had Nissan Leaf batteries. So later in the year, sometime around June, I think it was June, I changed to the Lux Power inverter. I love the Lux Power because it's quiet. You can hear there's the fan is on. The Lux Power was quiet, but it had some limitations. One, it didn't have the gen port, and it didn't have the automatic start function for the generator without using an external device. So I ran that for a while. I liked it. The form factor was a little prettier than this because it was a shiny silver aluminum. And then I went to the DE, and the DE has been incredible. So in terms of cost with shipping by air, taxes and everything, I paid about $1,300, $1,400 for this. And then sometime in July, I got my Dynas Power Box. So I had gotten the F50, which had two B4850 modules in it for a combined total of 5 kilowatt hours. And I spent a little more than I would have liked to have spent on that one. And then later, a few months later, I think 2 months ago, I added two more B48 550s for a total of 10 kilowatt hours. And what that has allowed me to do is run my AC through the night and also run this big fridge 24/7. The TV, the fan, the AC that's on, periodically the AC in my room. Now, one thing I noticed about this battery, charging it can be very tricky. So they require, especially the BMS on it, requires a full charge at least once every week, once every 2 weeks. And what that allows it to do is it allows it to calibrate and then balance the cells in the batteries, in each B4850 module. So let me give you an example. When you monitor the batteries individually, you could see what each one of the 15 cells is doing, and then once the battery gets full, it starts to balance. It doesn't balance before it gets full. The Pylon Tech, I think, balances and equalizes before it gets full. The Dynas doesn't do that. The Dynas gets full, and then it starts to balance and equalize. So I done a prior video showing that was happening. That was absolutely incorrect. And it balances the individual modules. It doesn't balance across modules. So I had a situation where a module was flat, another module was over 50%, another one was like 30%. So all four modules were different states of charge. They do not balance one another. They only do a full balancing of the individual modules once the battery is full. So that's one thing about the Dynas that I see that I'm not very pleased with. We purchased a Pylon Tech, we installed it for a customer. The first 3 days it was stuck at 80%, and the reason was because the cells had gone out of balance, and then over time they started to balance themselves, and it allowed us to go to 100% fully. So we can charge it to 100% after it took 2 days to balance and equalize. One thing I like about the Dynas, however, is once the batteries are fully charged, or once you have enough of a charge, it can allow you to discharge 130 amps. You can charge 100 amps, but you can discharge 130 amps, which is pretty impressive. This inverter will charge and discharge at 120 amps. So if I have the grid connected, it will definitely do that. So far that is it for what I've done on the inside. Let me take you outside and then tell you a little bit more of what I've done. I'll show you panels and then I'll tell you how much I spent in panels. So I am back, and this is inside the warehouse. If you're able to discern, you could see the old fridge, and in there somewhere part of the 300 watt panels I had removed from the roof. They're hidden behind this set that you see in the box, so you're not able to see them. But what I did is I had 7 300 watt panels on the roof, and I removed them and I replaced them with 7 400 watt panels. I don't know if you can get a very good view of this, but they're pretty big reference wise. So that's one of the changes I made this year. I went from 300 watt panels, 7 of them, to 4 700 watt panels. So that gave me 4 times 3 is 1200, 2400. So I have about 2800 in panels versus 2100. So I added an extra 700 watts in panels with the same number of panels. They're just much bigger. And then something else I also did is I had 8 250 watt panels. I added 1 more 250 watt panels. So that gave me 9 250 watt panels for 2250 watts. So 2800 and 2250, that has me over 5 kilowatts in panels. So right now I have over 5 kilowatts in panels. On a good day, I'll see about 3. Let me see if I can zoom in to show you where my panels are on the roof. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, you can see it right there. So on a good day, I can see right now, because of the time of the year and the position of the sun relative to the earth, on a good day I see about 3,400, 3,500 watts in production. On a bad day, well, I don't see anything to write home about. So one thing that you don't see is that our panels sit to get on the roof. We put them on profiles that look like this. So these are the rails that the panels sit on, and then this rails sit on an L foot, a foot shaped like an L. Okay, and then that's how we secure them to the roof, and then the panels sit on top of them, so they do not directly touch the roof. And then we bring them in through a combiner box. So let me see if I can show you the combiner box. So my cabling from the roof, and then this is a little bit of a mess because we're constantly playing with it, but that's the combiner box, and I have 2 strings inside the combiner box. The system has an SPD, and because it has an SPD, I'm not running any surge protection on the PV side. I might change my mind and do that. On installations we're doing right now, we're putting surge protection on the PV side after we had one inverter fail. Okay, here is my ground. This is my AC ground. I had to do this after I got shocked by the Lux Power inverter. And then here is my DC ground. You can see the earth rod in there. So I grounded, we have ground separate for DC and ground separate for AC. And because we're totally off the grid, we do not have AC coming into the house. We only have AC coming from the inverter into the house. So far this year I've spent quite a bit of money upgrading the system. And you know what? It has been successful. It's been a great success. Most of the days I have my AC run about 20 hours every day, which is something I wasn't able to do before. We're able to capture maximum sunshine, and we're able to get the batteries charged. On a day like this, as you could see the sky, the sun is there. I can see it, but I don't want to point the camera on it so I hurt your eyes. On a day such as this, I'm able to get 13, 14 kilowatt hours from my panels. On an exceptional day, I might see 17, 18 kilowatt hours. So if you do that math, it's less than 4 hours of direct sunshine but definitely between 3 and 3.5 hours of direct sunshine on a daily basis. So that's what's worked for me so far. Hopefully during the equivalent to our summer months, or what we call the dry season, when it's not as hazy or when the sun is a little higher in the sky, my production will definitely go up. If I'm not able to do that, then the next thing I'll do is I'll add I'll try to raise the panels and angle them, and I think that might help me accomplish my goal. So I was sure that I was done, but I'm not. So next change to my system will be to add an AC coupled inverter, AC grid-tied inverter to do AC coupled solution to my system. So that's what's coming next, and that's going to go here. So this is going to come down. I'm going to have a carpenter build something, and then we're going to put 5 kilowatts of panels and then an inverter here, and that inverter will connect directly to my DE, and I'll show that to you because DE makes it very simple. You bring the 3 cables coming from the inverter from the PV inverter into the DE generator port, and then select micro inverter, and then tell it when you want it to start and when you want it to stop. That's it. It does the frequency shifting like just in exactly that manner. It blew my mind at how simple it is. For those of you who've worked with Victron and those of you who've worked with other inverters, you know how complex it can be. They've made this as simple as it possibly can. So that'll be the change I'll make for 2021. So I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance. In the event I don't do another video, I want to thank you all for having watched and stayed with me all through 2020. I thank our Maker for keeping you alive and surviving COVID and allowing us to, watch this video, talk to one another. Once again, thank you. This is Dr. Sola coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria.